On the news tonight, Muslim faithful across Nigeria gathered to mark Eid-el-Fitr amid calls for compassion and unity. And President Muhammadu Buhari celebrates last Salah in Asarok, appeals to hurt Nigerians over failures of present administration. And federal government begins flood prevention sensitization and opening of blocked water channels. It's good to have you join us on News Now. I am Mary Kanu. Muslim faithful across Nigeria have marked the end of the holy month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar and one of the most sacred times for Muslims. Gathering to pray at the Shamsi Adisa Thomas Mosque in Old Secretariat, Ikeja, Lagos, the Muslims were enjoined by religious leaders to reflect on and maintain the virtues of the season. Our correspondent Sydney Okafor now reports.
Gathered in these mosques are Muslim faithful answering the call to prayer for the special Eid-Fitr prayer, also known as the smaller Eid. The celebration marks the end of Ramadan, the Islamic holy month of fasting. Muslims are encouraged to uphold the lessons of peace and love learnt during this season.
I think we should all give thanks to Almighty Allah that despite the very uncertain times, Allah, in the spirit of the month, calmed down Nigeria. And we had one of the most peaceful, most fruitful Ramadan. And I think it's an opportunity for all Muslims and non-Muslims alike to say a big thank you to Almighty Allah for guiding us through these 30 days. We started in good health. And we're anything good as alhamdulillah. We should all remain united. We should all imbibe the spirit of Islam. We should understand that Islam is a religion of peace and that Allah alone says He will build the religion, He will fight for it and He will defend it. So there's no need for any Muslim to take laws into his hands. This religion belongs to Almighty Allah. He will defend it and he will build it.
Having spent 30 days beginning from Thursday, March the 23rd, abstaining from food and other worldly pleasures from dawn till sunset, worshippers were grateful to celebrate the Eid-Fitr. They also call on the government to provide the dividend of democracy for the country's teeming youth.
My message to all Nigerians is to be law-abiding and be focused and support the government and support the projects being established by the government so that there will be peace and harmony within the country. The need to take care of the youth, because the youth are the future of our generation, and in which we need to take care of them. How do we take care of them? By giving them sound education. And after giving them sound education, we should endeavor to provide job opportunity. The government should establish various industries that will attract these youth so that they will not be involving in all these criminal offenses. It is as a result of unemployment that brought about all these criminal offenses, to name it Boko Haram, armed robbery, assassin, and others. So the bane of it is lack of job, that they don't have job at all. So the government should provide job opportunity for all the youth so as to engage them.
The holy month of Ramadan is the 9th month in the Islamic lunar calendar, which is seen as the holiest month for Muslims. Service to the less fortunate, communal gathering and spiritual development for all Muslim faithful worldwide. Sydney Okafor, TV360 News, Lagos.
And President Muhammadu Buhari has thanked Nigerians for tolerating him all through his administration. The president made the remark when he received members of the Federal Capital Territory FCT community and members of his cabinet who went to pay his 9th and final Salah homage at the presidential villa Abuja. There's more details in this next report. 38 days to his exit from office, and President Muhammadu Buhari has played host to residents of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, led by the FCT Minister Mohammed Bello. The FCT residents, whose visit coincides with the celebration of the Eid-el-Fitr and last Salah celebration of the President at the Asa Villa. The President says he considers himself lucky to have served Nigeria in different capacities, from his career in the military to his life as a civilian and politician.
I'm looking forward to returning to my town as far away as possible from Abuja, so that the incoming government will have the time and the space, to take decisions without necessarily having any input from me. I have my 8 years, and I think I have enough.
The President's visitors complimented his administration's performance in tackling the challenging insecurity situation and also in building infrastructure across the country.
So thank you most sincerely for the stewardship of the country and the tremendous amount of support you have given the Federal Capital Territory. This is not surprising because you are among the founding fathers of the Federal Capital City, and I recall you once mentioning to us the time when in Lagos, when the decision was being mooted to create a new federal capital, you were among those that used to come in helicopters to do a recce, if I can use the military word, to be able to see the position. This is, by the grace of God, in your lifetime, you have seen the tremendous amount of transformation that has taken place here.
We've been working assiduously in the last 2 months to ensure that every process is put in place to ensure a smooth and a seamless transition, a peaceful one, to the incoming government. And I can assure you that we are on course. Everything that needs to be put in place in terms of representation of the President's-elect team into the transition council.
The Buhari administration is closing on a very strong note. We have succeeded in minimizing the insecurity that we made in 2015. This administration has provided so much infrastructure across the country like no other administration did before. This administration, this president particularly, assented to legislations more than any previous president, especially in the last 4 years.
President Muhammadu Buhari, who joined other Muslim faithful to perform the Eid-el-Fitr prayer on the parade ground of the Mambili Barracks, says he cannot wait to go home and is pleased to have served as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria. The Director General of the National Inland Waterways Authority, George Moghalu, says the agency is taking proactive measures to open up blocked channels, essentially to avoid the unprecedented flood experienced across the country last year. Moghalu gave this assurance while speaking with newsmen shortly after paying a private visit to President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House, Abuja. The NIWA boss explained that the agency is carrying out massive sensitization of the possible flood-prone areas.
So what we started doing proactively was, first of all, to start the aspect of sensitization, getting people to understand, because we have a department in our office that monitors flood flow, looking at the floodplain, and gives us a report on monthly basis, on bi-weekly basis to my office. And then the department that is responsible will now develop the data, which we now use to sensitize the people, keep them informed of the possible flood-prone areas, so that people will have to leave those locations. While at the same time also, like you may be aware, we have 23 area offices across the country. So what we are doing in terms of opening of blocked channels is using the area offices across the country, identifying those areas that we have blocked channels, and then within the limits of our own resources and capability, we start opening them up so that they can have free flow of water. Even floating debris are all being removed at various locations across the entire country. As we identify them, we do the basic survey, and once we identify them, we set the process in motion to remove them. We're doing some now as we keep identifying them. And you know, these things like water hyacinth, like wrecks, like floating debris are not fixed items that you will say, I will remove now and it won't be there again. You can remove a wreck tomorrow, and by next tomorrow, another wreck will come. What are these wrecks? Broken down vessels that are condemned, logs, and what have you. So as we identify them using survey, identify the coordinates, the next thing we do is to set in motion the process of removing them. As we speak, procurement processes have been concluded and some are being removed, while as we identify, we set in motion the process of removing them. We see them as a challenge and we are attacking them.
In 2022, Nigeria experienced what was described as the worst flood disaster in a decade, as over 1.4 million people were displaced, over 603 persons were killed, and about 82,035 houses were damaged. Well, to speak more on ways to avert another flooding disaster, Yusuf Kalani, environmentalist, joins me now. It's good to have you join me. Now, the federal government has said it is taking proactive measures to avoid another disaster by carrying out sensitization and opening up blocked channels. Now, is this enough to reduce the levels of expected floods in the country?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me again. The measure that the federal government is taking, it's one of the things that needs to be put in place. But in terms of putting things right, I think it's the least. It's so minor. Let me use that language. It's so minor in terms of the things that the federal government can put in place. We need to look at the causes of these things, and I don't think it is right when we come on here to talk about these things, probably when the rain starts, or when people begin to ask questions. It goes beyond that. The staff of the agency and even the federal government itself needs to go and look at the clips of the effect of the flooding of last year, so that we understand these things and know the things that we need to put in place. There are two major causes to these things. It's man-made and natural. Natural in the sense that when Mother Nature decides to bring down so much water, that I'm talking of rainfall now, when it is extremely huge rainfalls, and we have this flooding. But man-made in the sense that we need to look at what we as citizens, what we have done to the environment, what we have done to the floodplains. When you look at the clips, when you look at buildings, it doesn't show a clear town planning. People build around or along floodplains. These are some of the major measures that must be corrected. These are the things that the government must put in place to ensure that people do not build along floodplains. Houses, buildings, constructions along floodplains should be brought down. It should be clear, because if you block, when you have these huge rainfalls and the water cannot find its way, of course they come into our homes. There are floodplains that lead to rivers, that lead to like we have River Benue and River Niger meeting somewhere in the middle belt, and this is the crisis point. This is the particular location where you have people worst hit. Now, along the plains that lead to these rivers, there are confluences and other links, water channels. We see people build along that plain. We see people farm along the floodplain. So whenever we have huge rainfall, what do you expect? Of course, crops will be destroyed and homes will be affected, will be flooded. So the government needs to do more. It goes beyond clearing of the block drains, because if you are talking about block drains, you are talking of the cities like Lagos, with even Abuja, the cities. But one thing is to clear the drains. Another thing is to get the area, the demography. Let the place be prepared for this huge rainfall. So it goes beyond that. What the government is doing right now, it's like the secondary approach. The primary approach which is the major one, is to clear these planes.
Oh, I'm afraid I know you could go on, but that's how much we can take. On the news, environmentalist Yusuf Kalani, thank you very much for your time. Well, days after the harmonized version of the bill on the Nigerian Peace Corps was transmitted for presidential assent, the Corps, under the leadership of Chinedu Neji, has appealed to President Muhammadu Buhari to do justice to the bill for the general good of the teeming Nigerian youths. The Commandant General, at a press briefing in Abuja, urged the president to see his assent to the bill as a parting gift he bequeaths to the Nigerian people, while he insists that the assent to the bill for an act would make the organization a statutory body. And Neji says he also believes it would help to engage the youth by way of gainful employment.
The bill eventually passed through harmonization, where both National Unity and Peace Corps of Nigeria participated in the process. That was successfully done, and the bill transmitted to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for assent. After the presidential assent, which we are expecting to take place before the 11th of May 2023, the bill will become the property of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and will eventually become an act of parliament. Having gone this far, therefore, we call on the president to sign this bill and use it as parting gift to Nigerians. We also implore him to equally absorb all the Nigerian youths who had patience and participated in this whole process throughout the time the bill was in National Assembly. Finally, we ask Nigerians to continue to support this new bill, the Nigerian Peace Corps bill, which is before the president. We expect that the president will grant his assent and our work will start in earnest.
We'll take a break here, but still to come. First person dies with a tourist COVID-19 variant as more countries sound the alarm over surge. We'll bring you details of the story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories tonight. Muslim faithful across Nigeria have marked the end of the holy month of Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar and one of the most sacred times for Muslims. Gathering to pray at the Shamsia Disa Thomas Mosque in Old Secretariat Ikeja, Lagos, the Muslims were enjoined by religious leaders to reflect on and maintain the virtues of the season. We also told you that President Muhammadu Buhari has thanked Nigerians for tolerating him all through his administration. The president, who made the remark when he received members of the Federal Capital Territory FCT community and members of his cabinet who paid his 9th and final Salah homage at the presidential villa Abuja, pleaded with Nigerians whom he must have hurt in the course of his duties to forgive him. Well, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on LimeX4 TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. And now to COVID-19 stories and updates. The first death from the new COVID strain, the Omicron subvariant XBB.1.16, dubbed Arcturus, has been recorded as countries across the globe record more cases. According to the Director General of the Medical Sciences Department in Thailand, Supakit Sarika, an unnamed elderly man died from the new variant. He He also said 27 cases had been detected and that the deceased was an elderly foreigner with underlying health conditions. And India has recorded 11,692 new coronavirus infections, while the active cases have increased to 66,170. According to the Union Health Ministry data updated on Friday, the death toll has increased to 531,258 with 28 deaths. The active cases now comprise 0.15% of the total infections, and the national COVID-19 recovery rate has been recorded at 98.67%. We'll take a break and return with business, international and sports stories. Do stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places, the Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Folashade Ogunride now joins us with the latest business updates. Folashade, over to you.
Well, many thanks, Mary. And in business, the African Development Bank, AFDB, says it will leverage the private sector to address the various financial gaps on the continent. The Vice President of Economic Governance and Knowledge Management Complex at AFDB, Kelvin Urama, spoke on the bank's plans to improve financing in Africa at a virtual pre-annual meeting news conference on Thursday. Speaking on the theme, mobilizing private sector financing for climate and green growth in Africa, Urama said the plan would put Africa on sustained growth of 7% to 10% gross domestic product annually and consistently for the rest of this incubation period of the Agenda 2063. In the absence of a significant boost in oil revenues and tax reforms, the World Bank forecasts that Nigeria's fiscal deficit will remain just above 3% of GDP until 2025. In its new report, the World Bank revealed that Nigeria has spent nearly all the revenues it earned in 2022 servicing its debts, adding that low revenue and rising interest payments have left the economy with almost no money after paying interest on debt. Speaking on the gloomy projections by the World Bank on TV 360 Nigeria's flagship program, Digi 360, economist Akintunde Ogunshola says there's an urgent need for the incoming government to shift focus from oil and diversify the economy in order to boost revenue for the country.
So if the incoming government can look at how to diversify the economy in other sectors, agriculture is there, we need to ensure food security, the services sector is there, the aviation sector is there. All other sectors need to also be looked into, apart from the oil sector. But remember, the tax aspect is the fiscal policy aspect of the economy, while the monetary aspect is also going. If both the fiscal policy is being tightened and the monetary aspect is also tightened, I think the citizens will not find it funny because we are in the era of tightening of economy, interest rate is high. The CBN is continuing to tighten the economy because of high inflation. We're experiencing continuous and steady rise in inflation. So if the government on its fiscal policy part decide to also increase taxes again, I think it's going to be choking for our economy. So for now, it is advisable that we still keep our tax system the way it is for now, pending when the virus of this inflation is a worldwide virus, inflation going up, not only in Africa, even the developed countries are also experiencing the same.
And that's it on Business News. Mary, back to you for the rest of the news.
Many thanks for the update, Folashade. Now on the global scene, British Deputy Prime Minister and Secretary of Justice Dominic Raab has resigned. The development follows an independent inquiry and investigation into 8 bullying allegations against him. During the investigation, evidence was heard from multiple government officials about complaints of bullying at 3 different departments. Raab has denied the claims he belittled and demeaned his staff and said he behaved professionally at all times. In a letter to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Raab says he would remain supportive of the government. And in sports, the former chairman of a Tokyo 2020 Olympics sponsor, Hironori Aoki, has been handed a suspended prison sentence along with 2 others in the first convictions in the spiraling bribery scandal surrounding the event. The 84-year-old ex-head of high street business suit retailer Aoki Holdings pleaded guilty in December to accusations that he and 2 colleagues bribed a Tokyo 2020 board member to secure sponsorship rights. Corruption allegations have thrived in the aftermath of the pandemic-delayed games, implicating major companies and damaging Japan's bid to host the 2030 Winter Olympics. Now that's our news bulletin this evening. Thank you for watching. I am Mary Kanu. Bye for now.